welcome to this week's video. For this week, I'm going to be doing my wrap-up for the month of August. These are a few books that I read in the month of August. Primarily, paperbacks, because this month, August, did not work for me for ebooks, and not for Audible either. So my wins are in the paperbacks only this week, or this month. 1 DNF and 2 that I loved. Yeah. 1 is in the loved column, but I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted about how I feel about that book. But first, let's start with the DNF. Unfortunately, which is so disappointing to me because I had such high hopes for this book, and it is Kate Quinn's The Rose Code. I wanted to love this book, y'all. I did, because it has everything that I wanted. It's World War II. It's strong women, you know, fighting the good fight in World War II. It's the sort of like epic saga friendships that I love, and it did not work for me. So let me tell you what it's about first. As England, 1940, as England prepares to fight the Nazis, 3 very different women answer the call to a mysterious country estate, Bletchley Park, where the best minds in Britain train to break German military codes. Vivacious debutante Osla has everything: beauty, wealth, and the dashing Prince Philip of Greece sending her roses. But she burns to prove herself as more than a society girl, and puts her fluent German to use as a translator of decoded enemy secrets. Imperious self-made Mab, a product of East End London poverty, works the legendary code-breaking machines as she conceals old wounds and looks for a socially advantageous husband. Both Osla and Mab are quick to see the potential in local village spinster Beth, whose shyness conceals a brilliant facility with puzzles, and soon Beth spreads her wings as one of the park's few female cryptanalysts. We'll just pronounce it that way. But war, loss, and the impossible pressure of society will tear the 3 apart. 1947. As the royal wedding of Princess Elizabeth and Prince Philip whips post-war Britain into a fever, the 3 friends turned enemies are reunited by a mysterious encrypted letter, the key to which lies buried in the long-ago betrayal that destroyed their friendship and left one of them confined to an asylum. An enigmatic traitor has emerged from the shadows of their Bletchley Park past, and now Osla, Mab, and Beth must resurrect their old alliance and crack one last code together. But each petal they remove from the Rose Code brings danger and their true enemy closer. I wanted to love this book, but I couldn't because the writing style just did not work for me. I found it hard to get immersed in the story because just the writing voice, just the style just did not work. I couldn't get into it. And that's sad because I wanted to love this book so much. And I know a lot of people do love this book, and that's great for you. I'm jealous that you were able to submerge yourself in the story and enjoy it, and I couldn't. I'm sad. So that was that one. Let's do the one that I loved. Pam Jenoff's The Diplomat's Wife. I loved this book. I loved it so much. Let me read the blurb for you. 1945. Marta Niederman has barely survived the brutality of a Nazi concentration camp where she was imprisoned for her work with the Polish resistance. Lucky to have escaped with her life, she meets Paul, an American soldier who gives her hope of a happier future. The two make a promise to meet in London, but Paul is in a deadly plane crash and never arrives. Finding herself pregnant and alone in a strange city, Marta finds comfort with a kind British diplomat, and the two soon marry. But Marta's happiness is threatened when the British government seeks her help to locate a communist spy, an undercover mission that resurrects the past with far-reaching consequences. Set during a time of great upheaval, and James the Diplomat's Wife is a story of survival, love, and heroism, and a great testament words to the strength of women. Love it. Loved it so much. So Paul finds Marta in a prison camp because she has been arrested by the Nazis for her work with the resistance. And they fall in love, but they are separated because Paul is a soldier and must go back to, you know, his military mission. And Marta is taken to this hospital to recover from her injuries, and then a friend that she makes there dies, and the woman who is in charge of her ward tells her that she has to get out of England. She has to get out of the hospital, where the town where she's in, and go to England. And she's going to go to Paris. No, she goes to Paris first, and then she goes to England to give the personal effects of her friend that died. And she's waiting for Paul to meet her, and he doesn't, because his plane goes down and she believes that he is dead. On the ship over to England, I believe, she meets Simon. She meets Simon, the British diplomat, who, after Marta believes that Paul is dead, she ends up marrying, and he seems like a wonderful guy. But no, he is not. We'll call this review spoiler. So Marta is living this life with Simon, and he's not really all that into her. And sort of only feels like it only feels like to her that she had, it's sort of a marriage to, like, it's not a very warm marriage. He doesn't really seem all that interested in being married, just in appearing to be married. Like, yeah, he doesn't really care all that much about Rachel, the daughter that she has. And she's working for him in the Foreign Affairs office, and then she gets called to, she volunteers to go and find this guy to break some military or spy code thing, and the guy knows how to, has like the decoder thing, like he knows how to decode secrets or something, and she knows who he is from her work in the resistance. And then if they can find out what to decode the messages, then they will be able to find who the spy is. And during this adventure that she goes on, she finds out, oh, Paul's still alive, and he helps her to find this guy who turns out to be a girl. So that was a really cool twist. And this guy Paul is the preciousest. I mean, his plane goes down, but he's still trying to get to her. He gets shot, but he's still trying to get to her. He gets stabbed, but he's still trying to get to her. I mean, he loves her so much. I could not with this man. I love this man so much. And then we find out that hubby Simon, is the spy. Okay, that was, yeah. I was kind of hoping that he was a spy so that she can leave him and be with Paul. And that happened, you know, nicely, but not before he tried to kill her with some chocolate. And he tries to kill her, but luckily she only had like half the chocolate, because I guess she wasn't in the mood for chocolate, because she was sad that when she and Paul like rediscover each other, she feels like she has to go back to her life with her husband and her daughter, who she doesn't tell Paul that he is Rachel's father, until it looks like Paul's about to die from his gunshot wound. And it's just, so she tells him, but she thinks that like he's kind of out of it, so maybe like he doesn't remember. And turns out that from the plane crash, when he survived the plane crash, he did actually go and like try to find her. But when he found her, he discovered that she was pregnant. So he sort of thought like she had moved on with her life, and he didn't want to kind of ruin her life, and sort of like, so he stepped back, not knowing that the baby that she was carrying was his. And then there's one last little twist that I was not expecting, that shocked the hell out of me, but made me sad for Martha, like, and Rose, like, in the beginning, in the hospital. And I don't want to spoil that. I don't want to spoil that little twist, and just how far Simon went to use Martha. Because Martha was an integral part of his plan, as a spy, as a traitor, because of her work in the resistance. So Simon's meeting with Martha on the ship as she's going to England, I think it was, to meet Rose's family and tell them that her friend died. Not so much a matter of chance, turns out. So I loved this book. Oh, so much. Oh, so much. It is going on my keeper shelf for sure. Definitely. You know how I love my World War II's, World War II stories, and I'm very excited to read more from her. I think I have The Orphan's Tale on my to be read, and I definitely want to read the other books that are mentioned here in her bio: The Ambassador's Daughter, The Lost Girls of Paris, The Orphan's Tale, which I have, The Commandant's Girl, which is the first book of hers that I've heard of, and one that I wanted to get. I haven't gotten it yet, but I ended up finding this one first at my bookstore, so I picked that up. The Last Summer of Chelsea Beach, and The Winter Guest. So definitely gonna look for more from this author. Loved it. Oh, next we have the one that I am conflicted about, because it is Kate Morton's The Forgotten Garden. I love this book, and yet I have a sense of disappointment about it, and let me explain why. First, we'll read the blurb. A tiny girl is abandoned on a ship headed for Australia in 1913. She arrives completely alone with nothing but a small suitcase containing a few clothes and a single book, a beautiful volume of fairy tales. She's taken in by the dockmaster and his wife and raised as their own. On her 21st birthday, they tell her the truth. With her sense of self shattered and very little to go on, Nell sets out to trace her real identity. Her quest leads her to Blackhurst Manor on the Cornish coast and the secrets of the doomed Montrachet family. But it is not until her granddaughter Cassandra takes up the search after Nell's death that all the pieces of the puzzle are assembled. A spellbinding tale of mystery and self-discovery, the forgotten garden will take hold of your imagination and never let go. Now, I loved this book. I am loving Kate Morton and her books. I read The Lost Hours, which wrecked me, and this one was definitely compelling and interesting, and I loved it, but it didn't wrench my heart out into tiny little pieces the way that The Lost Hours did. Okay, so the little girl, Nell, this family takes her in because she is traveling with a woman, but the woman is like desperate that like she cannot tell anybody who she is. The little girl, she tells the little girl she can't tell anybody who she is, and she has to like stay hidden. So the woman, Eliza, her mother was a part of the Montrachet family, and it's her and her brother who is a freaking weirdo who's obsessed with her. So the mother, Georgiana, I believe, runs off with a sailor dude, and she has two children, Eliza and Sammy. Sammy, who is a mute, and unfortunately Georgiana dies, I think from an illness, so it's Eliza and Sammy being raised in this in this house, but they're like pretty much servants to this horrible woman. And then poor Sammy dies, and Eliza is left alone, and then this guy in a carriage comes and says that he's going to take Eliza because he's going to take her back to her family, who she didn't know up to this point were the Montrachets. So Eliza grows up best friends with this woman, with this girl, Rose, and they become very, very close. And like really, really close. And then, but her mother, Rose's mother, is not fond of Eliza and thinks that she's a bad influence on her daughter. So she takes Rose on this trip where she meets this guy, Nicholas or Nathan Walker? Nathaniel, who is a painter, and she falls in love with Nathaniel, and Nathaniel comes from like nothing, but the mother realizes that the daughter Rose is not going to give up on her love for Nathaniel, so the mother decides that she's going to accept Nathaniel and sort of help him become a member of society. Why she doesn't do this with Eliza, yeah, I understand why, because the mother is married to the creepy ass brother, who after all this time is still obsessed with Eliza's mother, and becomes obsessed with Eliza. And so I think that's why the mother, Adelaide, wants to keep Eliza away from her daughter, because Adelaide is pretty much jealous of Eliza's mother, even though the woman's dead, and her husband's obsession with his sister. So Rose and Nathaniel are, I think when they come back, they're married, or they're engaged, and Eliza and Rose, Eliza sort of sees Rose kind of like slipping away from her, and is not she's not happy that she's losing her best friend. She doesn't like this new sort of turn of events, and she doesn't deal with it very well. This sort of like life-changing, how their relationship is going to change now that Rose is married. And Adelaide keeps like sticking her finger in and manipulating things so that Rose pushes Eliza more and more away out of her life. Then Rose discovers that she can't have children. So she decides that one of the servants are pregnant, and she decides that she's going to bribe the servant to give her her baby. Now, at this point, I was kind of disappointed because that's not where I wanted it to go. That's not where I wanted the story to go. But then the story gave me what I wanted, but not the way that I wanted. So the servant ends up losing the baby. So then I'm like, oh, okay. So then Nell is not this servant's baby. So then whose baby is she? So turns out that Rose decides to bring Eliza back into the fold by asking her if she could have a baby for Rose. Have a baby and give it to Rose. Now, so my thought was I wanted Eliza to be Nell's mother. I wanted it to be like revealed that there was some kind of like something happened, either like the creepy uncle like raped her or and you know she took the baby and ran. That's not what happened. Again, this is going to be spoilery, so if you don't want to be spoiled, sort of click off now. That's not what happened. Rose asks her husband to sleep with Eliza and get her pregnant. And then Eliza is supposed to give the baby to Rose. Now, Rose sees this as a way to renew her friend, or Eliza sees this as a way to renew her friendship with Rose and get them back to that strong relationship they had when they were children. I have a best friend, and I love her very much. However, I would not have a baby for her. I would not have a baby and give it to her. I would not give her my baby. But Eliza was so obsessed with regaining her friendship with Rose. I don't know why, because gradually you come to learn that Rose is a bitch. Maybe through like Adelaide's influence on her, you know, playing devil's advocate. Maybe she was poisoned by her mother, you know, in like her ideas and stuff. But Rose is a bitch because Eliza agrees to do this. You know, have the baby and give it to her friend, which, okay, fine. But once she does this, and nobody can know that Eliza is pregnant and gonna give Rose her baby. So they have Eliza living sort of like as a willing hostage, I guess, in this garden that's like with a wall that's like hidden off from the rest of the estate so that nobody can see her as she's pregnant. They tell everybody that she's gone off to do something, I don't remember what. But Nathaniel visits her on occasion until she gets pregnant. And they grow close. But for some reason, Nathaniel, you know, goes back to his wife. I don't know why, because by this point she's becoming a bitch. And Rose is like obsessed that Eliza is going to take her child, which is not her child, but take her child, Nell. I think they named her like Ivory, but we'll call her Nell. So she, I think she and Nathaniel decide that they're going to move to New York, but they leave Nell there at the house at the estate while they go, and I think they're going to go and like find a house and then like send for Nell. They're on a train, and the train crashes, and Rose and Nathaniel die. Sad for Nathaniel. Good riddance to Rose for me. Good riddance to that bitch. So then Eliza, when she discovers that Rose and Nathaniel are dead, after a while, she decides that she does not want her baby to be raised by manipulative, evil Adelaide and her crazy husband, who is obsessed with Eliza because of her mother. So Adelaide and her uncle, Eliza decides that she wants to get Nell and her far away from there as possible. So they go on the ship and they run away. But Eliza had hidden in the old house of the evil lady who took her in, who she was like a servant for. She's hidden this brooch in the house that they were supposed to use for money to escape her and Sammy before Sammy died. But when the man from the manor came to take her, there was such a confusion that she forgot the brooch in the house. So, I don't remember why, but for some reason, she leaves Nell there on the boat. And when the boat docks and goes to get the brooch, I don't remember why she didn't bring Nell with her. But then her uncle finds her and Eliza and grabs her and is bringing her back. I think, and is going to bring her back and I think gonna like look for Nell. Gonna take Nell and grab her and bring her as well. But before the guy can get to Nell, Eliza causes a crash. Causes the carriage to crash. But she dies. Eliza dies. Which again was a disappointment to me, because I wanted Nell's granddaughter Cassandra to eventually find Eliza and find, like what really happened. But that's not what happens. So Nell gets left there as a 4-year-old and gets taken in by this family, who I think a couple of months into it, they haven't heard anything, and then a couple of months into it, the guy Hugh, the father, the adoptive father, receives a letter that Nell's family is looking for her. But at this point, he decides that his wife is so in love with Nell, so in love with this child, that his wife could not bear to be parted from this child, and neither could he. So he decides that he's going to burn the letter and pretend like he never got it, and raise Nell as their own. Now, I had problems with that. Like, I understand that your wife is attached to the child at this point, and in, knowing who the Montrachet family is, I know that they're creepy, weirdo people, but he didn't know that at the time. They could have been a wonderful, loving family that was looking for Nell. But no, he decides that he's going to keep her and raise her. And then, when she turns 21, he tells her the truth. Why? I don't know. Apparently, it's the story goes that, like, he's, overwhelmed with guilt after all these years of keeping, her, what he knows about her secret. So on her 21st birthday, he tells her the truth, destroys her life, pretty much. Because, in my opinion, if you were gonna do this, you should have done it when she was little. You know, like, I felt like if he was gonna decide to, you know, burn the letter and get rid of the letter, then he should have, like, stuck to that, and maybe, like, after, I don't know, I don't think he should have told her who she was, or at least not at that point. Maybe, like, after he died, I don't know, but she finds out who she is, and it, you know, she doesn't handle it well. She feels like she's an outcast from her family, and it sort of causes her to push them away. She does not have a good relationship with her daughter because of it. And then her granddaughter, but she decides that she's going to find out, you know, like, who these people, who her family is, and where she comes from, and blah, blah, blah. But then her daughter leaves her granddaughter, Cassandra, and Nell decides that she's going to take care of Cassandra and not pursue any more of trying to discover who she is. Then Nell dies, and Cassandra decides she's going to continue her grandmother's search. So, yeah, it sort of felt like Cassandra didn't really have sort of a reunion with, like, she found out where Nell came from. You know, she found out the truth, but there was sort of nobody around for her to really reconnect. Like, Eliza was dead. Rose and Nathaniel were dead. It was sort of like she found out her identity, you know, her family history, and that was sort of it, if I remember. Yeah, like, yeah, it was sort of like, I wanted either, like, the way that I wanted it was, I wanted Eliza to end up being the mother, Nell's mother, which, yay, I was happy that I got that. But I wasn't happy that she was totally, like, willing to give up her baby for the sake of her friendship. Like, again, I have a best friend, but I would not give up my child to maintain my friendship with my friend. I don't, yeah, so let me amend that. I liked it. I didn't love it. So this one will not be going on my keeper shelf. But I liked it. I liked it up until Eliza died. Because I felt like at that point, okay, you know, it's good that, you know, Cassandra found out, you know, who she is, and yeah, I found the ending sort of anticlimactic at that point. Once Eliza dies, yeah, the ending was disappointing to me. So yeah, let's just, I like Kate Warren's writing, love her writing, love her storytelling. Did not like how that one ended. So, for paperback, what I'm reading right now, which I'm about to start, haven't started yet, I decided to go with a short little, I'm in the mood for something short. Harlequin presents rumors behind the Greek's wedding. And that's, there you are. And let's read the back third, shall we? The engagement was a lie, but their connection was all too true. She'd been hired to repair Lucas Liordi's public reputation, not become involved in his private affairs. Yet spiraling rumors have Lucas demanding Celia play the role of his fiancée. To deny the Greek would be the end of her career, but to agree. For years, Lucas focused on one goal. Now he has the gorgeous Celia to consider. She is tempting beyond reason and perhaps just the woman he needs. They may have already indulged in their wedding night, but will they make it to the altar? So, yeah, I'm in the mood for something short. After, such, immersive, compelling reading that took a lot out of me. And for my ebook, let me show you what I'm going to be starting, and hopefully it will break my little bit of an ebook slump, I guess. Well, not necessarily a slump, because I think my July wrap-up was the two amazing ebooks that I read. And I'm reading An Exotic Air, by Meredith Bond, Merry Men Quartet, Book 1. An Exotic Air. And that is a historical, if you can't tell. And so we'll see how that goes. And yeah, so Audible, I don't have one picked out yet, so we'll see if I get a good one for Audible. So that's going to be my wrap up for the month of August. One DNF, one like, one love. So the like and the love, I think, made for a good reading month. My like, The Forgotten Garden, may not have ended the way that I wanted it, but for 95% of it, I really enjoyed it. And The Diplomat's Wife by Pam Jenoff, oh my lordy, that one was so good. Had hit all my World War II romance beats. Back from the dead, a woman, surviving incredible odds, being strong, making, making an amazing life for herself, secret baby, all the things I loved were in that book. Yeah, so that's going to be it for this week's video. Follow me on the Twitters at twitter.com/authorejamie. Like my Facebook page at facebook.com/authorejamie, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye!